Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Octopus Squish, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Please go to the link in the description where you will find both right and left-handed video tutorials, as well as a link to the written pattern, all the supplies you need, and any other video tutorials that I reference here today. To make this pattern, you'll need Bernat blanket in 2 colors, the light teal you see here, or whatever color, of course, you want your octopus to be, and then a contrasting color. I've used white for the underside. So those are the 2 yarns, but of course, you'll need a little bit here, just a little bit of scrap black yarn, worsted, DK, sport, whatever's handy to make the smile. I think I said about 12 inches is all you need, probably even less, but you know, just a little bit of scrap black yarn. You'll want 2 black buttons here for the eyes. I recommend the kinds with shanks. It's got the little bit that sticks out in the back to sew with. And then you'll need I used about 40, but of course you can use however many you like, of these teal buttons for the tentacle suckers. And then you'll need white thread, here some by Coats, to sew it on with. So then of course you need a yarn needle, a sewing needle, scissors, and we can't forget the crochet hook. This pattern calls for a USL 8mm. Now, one note, if you intend to make this octopus squish for a baby, you may not want to use buttons. Buttons are a risk. I'm not a large manufacturer here. This isn't a manufactured toy. It has not been safety tested for children under 3. So if you are making this for small children where they might be using it unsupervised, you will probably want to embroider on in place of using buttons for the eyes and the tentacle suckers. Just a little safety tip there. Now, the one last thing I forgot to mention that you'll need for supplies is, of course, the stuffing. And you could use fiberfill if you prefer, but I used this round micro bead pillow. It's a 10-inch pillow found on Amazon, and I have linked to it at the link in the description as well as in the written pattern. And that is what gives this squish its great size and shape, and really, it's really great squishy feel. This is it's considered almost like a therapeutic micro bead ball, so I really love using it for the stuffing here. But like I said, if you prefer, you can, of course, use fiberfill. So let's go ahead and get started making our octopus squish. Okay, so to begin the octopus squish, we're going to start with the body, so we have our light teal color. And the first 18 rounds of the body, so everything up until we start making the tentacles, is made in a spiral, so we're not going to join at the end of the round. So let me show you how that's done. We're going to start with a magic circle, which I do have a separate video tutorial for if you're not familiar. But basically, I wrap the yarn towards myself around my finger twice, go under both loops with the hook, snag that one that's furthest back, pull it just under the other one, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that down, and now my magic circle is started and it's nicely secure. Then I am going to chain 1, and this is again the only chain 1 at the beginning of a round 2 since we're working in a spiral, just this very one at the beginning of the first round. So we've got our chain 1, I single crochet in the ring, and I want to make sure to go under both of those loops, both the tail end one and the one that's secure around my finger. For a single crochet there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull that off my finger because the stitch is going to hold the loop nicely open for me. And I'm going to work 9 half double crochets into that same ring. And again, I want to make sure I go over that tail because that's what will let me pull that tail at the end, close up the loop, and make a really nice tight finish. So just work 9 half double crochets all into that ring, so at the end of round 1, you'll have 10 total stitches. However, remember, we are not going to join those stitches with a slip stitch. So I will see you as soon as you've got those 9 half double crochets made. Okay, so I've got my 10 stitches worked into the ring, 1 single crochet followed by 9 half double crochets. So what I'm going to do at this point, you also want to use stitch markers, one of your standard crochet supplies, and put a stitch marker right in that very first stitch, in this case, a single crochet. If we keep that stitch marked through these first 18 rows of our pattern, it's really going to help us keep track of where we are, because since we're working in a spiral, it's a lot harder to count those rounds out. So using a stitch marker will always let you know when you've gone all the way around so you don't accidentally keep going and lose count. So we've got our stitches made. Like I said, we're not going to join with a slip stitch. I am going to go ahead and use this end here, this loose end, and just tighten up our circle a bit. And you'll want to pull a little bit gently with this yarn so that you don't break it. Just take your time. Don't pull too hard until you've got that circle closed. Then when you use your yarn needle, you want to weave that end in both directions to really lock that circle down. Now, a quick note about working with this yarn and working in circles. I have found that with yarn like this, where it has a lot of texture, it's very easy when working in a circle to find that your circle really wants to pucker, that it wants to be tight, that you can work a bunch of stitches in there, but it just feels like it's not enough stitches around. If you find that happening, if you find it sort of coning up like this, what you want to make sure to do is that as you finish each stitch and you've got that last active loop there on your hook ready for the next stitch, make sure you're pulling that up a little bit extra. With yarn like this, since it doesn't really glide against each other and it takes a little bit more force, it's really easy to leave that top loop, that final loop that will become the top loop of the next stitch, to leave that really tight. And when you do that, it makes the top of that stitch just that little bit narrower, and it can cause your work to sort of pucker down like that, or this way, and just sort of bowl up a little bit. So if you find that happening, just make sure you give that stitch itself a little extra tug to make sure the top of it isn't becoming narrower than the bottom of the stitch itself. So with all that said, we're ready to begin round 2. Now, so since we're not working in a spiral, since we are working in a spiral, we don't need to join and we don't need to chain. We're just going to work 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. So I'll go right into that marked first stitch for our first one. And since that is the first stitch of this round, I want to go ahead and move that stitch marker right up to that stitch I just made. Then I can work the second half double crochet right in that same stitch and continue on around with 2 half double crochets in each stitch. Since we had a total of 10 stitches in round 1, at the end of round 2, we'll have 20. So I'll see you as soon as you have 20 stitches for round 2. Okay, so here I am at the end of round 2, and I've got 20 stitches. And it's easy to count because I've got that stitch marker in the very first stitch. Without that stitch marker there, it would be easy to accidentally keep going too far or realize I hadn't gone far enough. I just can't stress enough how helpful that really is to help you keep track. So if I pull up the written pattern here, which I have printed out using Print Friendly, the Print Friendly button right at the bottom of the post, you'll see round 3, we're just going to keep increasing. Round 1, we had those 10 stitches. Round 2, we put 2 in each stitch, which brought us to 20. Round 3, you half double crochet in the next stitch, then 2 in the one after that, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. That gives us a total of 30. So sort of some standard increases. So I'm just going to kind of go over those with you here on paper for the sake of time. Round 4, again, it's all half double crochets, but this time we work 2 half double crochets in the first stitch, then half double crochet in the 2 after that, then 2 in the stitch after that, then half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches after that, all the way around till we have 40. Round 5, we move that increase to the end so we don't get any sort of basically whatever a 10-sided shape would be, since we're increasing by 10s here. We don't want a decahedron, maybe? I'm not sure. Geography wasn't always my strong suit, but we want to move those increases around a little bit so that we don't get points on our circle. It keeps it really smooth. So for round 5, you half double crochet in 3 stitches, then 2 half double crochets in the next. Half double crochet in 3, 2 in the next, all the way around, so then you have 50 half double crochets. Round 6, we're doing the same thing. Half double crochet in the next stitch, 2 half double crochets in the stitch after that, then half double crochet in the next 3. Start again with 1, then 2 in the next, then half double crochet in the next 3. And the reason we've split this up a little bit here, again, was just to keep that really round shape. So start off with 1, then double, then basically work 4 in between each increase to get around to the end, half double crochet in the last 3 stitches. You'll have a total of 60 half double crochets. Round 7, we're not going to increase by 10, so it changes a little bit. We're only going up by 6 stitches. So for round 7, you half double crochet in the first 5, 2 half double crochet in the stitch after that, then we begin our repeat. Half double crochet in 9, 2 half double crochet in the next. Half double crochet in 9, 2 half double crochet in the next. And repeat that around until only 4 stitches are left in the round. So you'll be able to count that 4 stitches left right before your stitch marker. Then you half double crochet in those last 4 stitches. That should give you a total of 66. Moving on to round 8, it's simply 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, half double crochet in the next 10. 2 in the next, half double crochet in the next 10, all the way around till we get to a total of 72 stitches. Round 9 is our last increase round. Half double crochet in the first 8, 2 half double crochet in the next, then begin the repeat where we work half double crochet in the next 17, then 2 half double crochet in the next, half double crochet in the next 17, 2 half double crochet in the next, until 9 stitches are left, and then just half double crochet in those last 9 stitches. You can see here how 9 and 8 add up to 17. So really, again, we're just splitting that repeat so that we keep a nicely rounded shape. Finally, rounds 10 through 15 are worked even, half double crochet in each stitch around. Let's go ahead and pull up the finished Octopus Squish and take a look at some of these rows here together. Okay, so we've got our round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, all increasing. Then, like I said, rounds 10 through 15, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are all worked even. So to work even just means you half double crochet in each stitch around. No more increases, no decreases, just the exact same number of stitches. So for rounds 10 through 15, you should still have 76 half double crochets in each round. Then for rounds 16, 17, and 18, we're just going to decrease down here for these last 3 rows a little bit to create that ball shape. So let's go ahead and take a look at those pattern lines together. So for round 16, we're going to half double crochet in the first 17 stitches and then do a half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet in 17, half double crochet 2 together, repeating all around, which will bring us down to 72. So if you haven't worked a half double crochet 2 together, let me go ahead and show that to you now. Now, like I said, normally this would be half double crochet in 17 stitches. So that would be the first one. You do 16 more before you do that decrease. But for the sake of time here, and since you don't need to watch me half double crochet all day, I'm just going to demonstrate the important piece here, the half double crochet 2 together. Now, a standard half double crochet 2 together, you would yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over again, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through all those loops to create that decrease. And while that is fine, it does create a little bit of a lump. You've got all those yarn overs. It creates a really, really thick stitch right there. So what I actually like to do here, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I actually like to work my half double crochet 2 together is almost more like a single crochet 2 together. So I like to just go ahead and go into that first stitch and pull up a loop, but I'm going to go ahead and pull it up nice and high. I don't want it to stay too close. Then if I go right into the next stitch and pull up that loop and then yarn over, you can see I'm pulling through 3 loops, which is what I normally do on a half double crochet. So that first stitch we worked into almost creates that vertical line that you get in a half double crochet. And then of course the second stitch completes the stitch. So I find that a single crochet 2 together actually looks a lot more like a half double crochet stitch. It really blends in a lot better. Like I say, you need to make sure to pull up that middle loop just a little bit extra to help you create that stitch. If you find that you don't like that one, another one you can try is yarn over, go into that first stitch, pull up a loop, then just go straight into that second stitch and pull up a loop. It does create one more loop in the middle, but some people prefer that. Or of course, you can make it the standard way. So however you like to make your half double crochet 2 together, that's fine. You can just do the method that works for you. So if we go back to the written pattern, that takes care of round 16. Round 17, going to be very similar. We're just half double crocheting around with repeats, working some decreases. That, of course, where the asterisk begins is where our repeat begins. We keep doing that until 3 stitches remain, then just half double crochet in those last 3 stitches for 64 total in round 17. And then with round 18, our repeat starts right from the beginning, half double crochet 2 together, then half double crochet in the next stitch, half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet in the next 6, all the way around until we've got a total of 56 stitches. Now again, even though this is right before we start the tentacles, we do not break the yarn and we do not join. So you will still have a stitch that looks like it's a bit taller than the next round as we begin the tentacles. So let's go ahead and work on some tentacles together. Okay, so after you finished round 18, like I say, it's time to begin the tentacles. And we're going to make these one at a time. But you will have worked all the way around and you'll be ready to start the first tentacle. We'll work back and forth in rows to the end, break our yarn, and then join in the very next stitch of round 18. So as you make each tentacle in rows and then finish it off, you'll come back to round 18 to join in the next stitch and begin the next one. So when you are making yours, obviously you'll have more of a hat or basically the octopus body before you get to the tentacles portion, but let's go ahead and demonstrate a tentacle right now. Okay, so on our little swatch here, we're going to say that we've gotten all the way through round 18 and it's time to begin tentacle number 1. So of course we'll begin that in the first stitch of the previous round there. So for row 1, we're going to half double crochet in the next 7 stitches. So we'll go right into that very next one, just as we would have before for when we were working on our spiral. And you can move that stitch marker up if you want to, totally optional at this point. You might want to go ahead and just move it to the next stitch. That'll tell you where to begin the next tentacle if you prefer, or well, after we make this first 7. So there's 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can getting a sort of a cup shape here since I am working evenly on such a small swatch. Whoops. Let's try that again. And was that 6 or 7? Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. So at this point then, since we're just making our first tentacle, you would leave the rest of those unworked and turn. So then we're going to chain 1, and rows 2 through 4 of tentacle number 1 are just work even. So you just chain 1 and half double crochet in each of those 7 stitches across. So I'm just half double crocheting right back across for row 2. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I should have 2 more, which I do. Lands me right in my marked stitch, so I know I'm in the right stitch there. So I guess would be handy for those first couple rows there, just to let you know. And then, like I say, rows 3 and 4, you just chain 1 and half double crochet back and forth again. So let's go ahead and skip to row 5. Row 5, we chain 1, work 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. So there's 1, 2, and then just half a double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then there should be 2 stitches left, so we're going to half double crochet 2 together there. So I'm going to do it my favorite way, where it's more like a single crochet 2 together. Let's go in the first one, the second one, yarn over, and pull through to finish off. Then we're ready for row 6. To begin row 6, of course, we'll chain 1. There we go, get a little bit more yarn going. And we're going to half double crochet 2 together twice. So let me drop that yarn over, go into the first stitch, pull up that loop, go into the second stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all those loops. Now I keep wanting to yarn over, but we're going to half double crochet 2 together again. So over those next 2 stitches there. Then half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1, 2. Then we are going to work 2 half double crochets in the very last stitch. So find that very last stitch. There we go. There is 1 and 2. And that's it for row 6. So for row 7 of the tentacles, we're going to chain 1, work 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. 1, 2, half double crochet in the next stitch, and then half double crochet 2 together twice over the last 4 stitches. So in the first 2, we've got our first half double crochet 2 together, and in the last 2, we'll have our last half double crochet 2 together. There we are, and that's row 7. Let me pull up a little bit more yarn there, and we're ready for row 8. I'm going to chain 1 and turn here, work our half double crochet 2 together in the first 2 stitches, half double crochet in the next stitch, and finish with another half double crochet 2 together. Like so. Then row 9, chain 1, half double crochet in the first stitch, half double crochet 2 together in the last 2 stitches. So now we're down to just 2 stitches for row 9, and we're ready for our last row of the tentacle, row 10, where we chain 1, half double crochet 2 together. So just those last 2 stitches become 1. Get under both those loops there at the top of that stitch. There we are. Finish that off, and then you can go ahead and break your yarn. Leave a good 6 inches or so to weave in that end, and you can just pull that through to finish it off, like so. Then we will immediately go to the next tentacle. So I had this one marked as the first stitch of this tentacle. You can see it's got some great curve there. So to make the next tentacle, I would just jump to the next stitch in round 18 of our body here. So just come back here, find that last stitch there, go right into the next one, grab our yarn up again, pull that on through, and chain 1. There, make sure I've got the right end of it there. There we go, chain 1. And then we just start just as we did before. Half double crochet in that stitch and the next 6 stitches, so you've got a total of 7. So that's 2, 3, 4. Well, you get the idea. It's just half double crocheting across, and after that, all the instructions are the same. So all the tentacles as you go around are identical, but because of the stiffness of the yarn, you can sort of style them together in different ways. So after you've made all 8 of the tentacles all the way around the body, each of them starting out 7 stitches wide, not 7 inches, 7 stitches wide, and finishing off with that last 1 stitch, then it is time to begin the underbody and the under tentacles with our Bernat blanket in white. Okay, so after you've got the green piece or teal piece made, or whatever color you're using for the body, you set that aside and we make the white piece next. So I just want to show you here on the finished octopus. The first 5 rounds of the underbelly, made with our color B here, are white, are identical to the first 5 rounds of the body. So just as you work those first 5 rounds, we're going to work those next 5 rounds right there. Then we have round 6, which is just a little bit different. There's a little hair there, a little different, but again, just some standard increases. I'll show you here on the printed pattern in a minute. And then just as before, we go to our under tentacles, which are going to mirror the above ones. So before, when we had increases on one side and decreases on the other to create that curve, we flip those to create the same curve, but from underneath, so that we can match those up and seam them around together. So let's take a quick look at the written pattern for the underbelly and under tentacles. Okay, so coming back to the written pattern, you can see round 1 through 5 of the underbelly with color B are white. Just repeat rounds 1 through 5 of the body. That brings us up to those 50 stitches. Remember, there were 10 in each round. So for round 6, we just want to increase by 6 stitches. So we half double crochet in the first 7 stitches, 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, then do that again, half double crochet in the next 7, 2 half double crochet in the next, then half double crochet in the next 8, then 2 half double crochets in the stitch after that. Then we begin our repeat again. So we do the portion in the parentheses twice. Half double crochet in 7, 2 half double crochet in the next, half double crochet in 7, 2 half double crochet in the next, then half double crochet in 8, 2 half double crochet in the next, then start over again. This gives us a total of 56 half double crochets. And the reason we need to increase by 6 there and get our same number, our 56, is so that if we go back on the written pattern here to where we finished off the body, we had 56 stitches before we began our tentacles. So that's how we match up the sizes of those rounds. Now after that, the tentacles, like I say, the construction's basically the same, but we're flipping our increases and our decreases. Before, where we were working some increases on one side and decreases on the other, we've now flipped those. So if let's see, for that's row 5 of the tentacles, because of course those first 4 rows are just even, 7 half double crochets. Row 5, for the top side, the green tentacle, I worked 2 half double crochets in the first stitch, 4 half double crochets, or half double crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then a decrease. For this one, we'll start with our decrease, then work across, then increase at the end. So again, just as we did before, we're just flipping those so that they match up when we match them together. Okay, so if we take another look at the underbelly and the under tentacles, as I've called them in the pattern, you can see here there are buttons on the white tentacles. And I sew these on before I assemble, before I put together the white and the green pieces. You'll want to go ahead and sew all the buttons on the white, and you'll want to go ahead and sew on the buttons and the smile for the face. There's not really a right or wrong for the face, just sort of eyeball it. I counted up here, let's see, we've got that'd be round 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. So it looks like I sort of centered the buttons in between rounds 13 and 14 there, and just put the smile right in between. But of course, that's where a lot of the personality comes from, so you can adjust that for you. After you've got all the buttons sewn on and you're ready for final assembly, you'll have the green piece and the white piece and a big space in there. So that is when it's time to stuff it. So you can use the green or the blue micro bead ball if you like, or your stuffing, whatever you like to stuff it with. Then just lay the white, make sure the buttons are facing out. Same thing on the green, make sure where'd they go? Make sure your buttons are facing out. And then from this side, from the top side, you'll take your color A, whatever your body color is, just join and single crochet right through both layers all the way around. And you just sort of want to work evenly. I found that one stitch in the side of each row works really well, but ultimately it's just a matter of eyeballing it and seeing what looks good to you. As I worked my way around, I did put one single crochet right through, just kind of stuck it wherever it fit there, right between, I guess it would be round 18 of this one, round 6 of this one right there, so that they were sort of hooked together in between the tentacles as well. But other than that, it was just a matter of working all the way around, break the yarn, finish off, and voila, it is all done. And that's how to crochet the Octopus Squish. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you make your own. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comments or shoot me a private message. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day, everybody.